Evan Langford once told his mother that elevators sounded like people holding their breath. Mara smiled without listening. Grief made her trust schedules, passwords, signatures, and screens more than instinct. If a screen said Evan had gone home, she wanted to believe it, easier than admitting she no longer knew when her child was afraid. 37 floors above, Mara sat outside a glass boardroom where adults prepared to decide Langford Industries' future. 37 floors below, Noah Reed stood in wet sneakers and listened to the elevator breathe. He had not come to save anyone. He had come because rain had soaked through his jacket, and the loading dock had a warm vent past 9. Then the elevator knocked. Tap, tap, pause, tap. The monitor said empty. Noah pressed his palm to the sealed doors. He did not know Evan Langford. He did not know. A calm voice upstairs was telling the board Mara was distracted, Evan was unstable, and her signature was needed before midnight. He only knew the sound of someone trying not to disappear. When Noah told security, they asked for his name like evidence against him. They checked the log and said the system knew better. Then something silver slid through the gap. A chess knight. On the bottom, 4 words. Tell Mum the vote. Noah did not understand. But 37 floors above, powerful people were about to vote on a lie, and the only person who knew the truth was trapped inside a silent elevator. Mara Langford had built her company by refusing to panic. That was what magazines wrote about her, what investors admired, and what her attorneys needed tonight. A face calm enough to protect $1 billion contract. Outside conference room 52A, she looked like that woman. Black suit, straight posture, phone beside a folder of signatures. Her name printed across the top page, waiting for her hand to make the next hour permanent. Inside the glass boardroom, 12 directors murmured over tablets and water glasses. 2 corporate lawyers stood near a screen showing Langford Industries' midnight restructuring schedule. Bizijamara sat Celia Voss. Celia had been with the family long enough that people stopped calling her an employee. After Daniel died, she handled what grief made Mara too tired to touch. School calls, driver changes, doctor updates, board pressure, even the careful phrases Mara used when reporters asked about Evan. She kept the company standing. One director had once said. Mara had believed that. Most days, she still did. Evan is home? Mara asked again. Celia turned a page in her folder. Victor drove him out at 8:20. He was overwhelmed after the lobby incident. Dr. Pell agreed it was better not to escalate. The lobby incident. He became agitated near the elevators. Beyond the glass wall, the city glittered below, clean and distant. Evan had hated this building since Daniel's death. Every floor seemed to ask him to be quieter than he was. He asked for me earlier, Mara said. He often does after an episode. The word hurt because it was useful. It made fear sound medical. It made loneliness sound managed. It made a child's warning sound like a symptom. Mara had accepted that word too many times. Her phone vibrated. Trespassing minor detained near executive service elevator. Claims occupant trapped inside. Requesting instruction. Celia leaned just enough to read it. I'll handle that. He says someone is trapped. He is a child found trespassing in a restricted area. That should have ended it. Systems existed because feelings were unreliable. Procedures existed because fear made people reckless. Then security sent a second image. A boy stood between 2 guards in the service corridor, soaked through, chin lifted, palms open to show the only thing he carried. A silver chess knight. Mara's fingers tightened around her phone. Daniel had brought Evan that chess set from Prague. Evan loved the knight because it moved crookedly and still reached places no one expected. After the funeral, he carried one piece for weeks, rubbing the horse's neck until the metal dulled. Celia saw the image. For the first time that night, her answer came half a second late. That could be any piece. No, Mara said. The boardroom door opened. Gordon Hale, chair of the compensation committee, looked out with a practiced smile. Mara, we are ready. The continuity vote has to be completed before midnight. Mara enlarged the image. The knight's left ear was bent. Evan had dropped it down a marble stairwell when he was 10, then cried because the damage made it look more real. Bring the boy upstairs, Mara said. Celia closed her folder carefully. If you bring an unidentified minor into an executive area, you create legal exposure. I didn't say into the session. You are under extraordinary pressure. Evan's doctor warned that contact after an episode can reinforce. My son's doctor is not in this building. No, but his records are. Not a threat. Not exactly. Just a door Celia knew how to close. The private elevator had load sensors. door seals, brake reports, camera confirmation, and manual override records. If the system said empty, it should be empty. Langford built security systems for banks, hospitals, airports, government facilities. Empty meant empty, unless someone had taught the system what to say. A knock sounded at the hallway entrance. 2 guards arrived with Noah between them. Up close, the boy looked smaller than in the image. Wet hair stuck to his forehead. His sneakers marked the white tile. One guard held his arm as if poverty were contagious. Noah looked past everyone and found Mara. "Your son is in that elevator," he said. Gordon stepped fully out of the boardroom. Behind him, directors turned toward the glass. Celia moved closer. "This is exactly the kind of disruption we discussed." Mara held out her hand. "Show me the night." Noah hesitated. For 1 second, she understood why. Adults had probably taken things from him before and called it procedure. "I'll give it back," she said. He placed the piece in her palm. It was evens. On the bottom, beneath fresh scratches, 4 uneven words had been carved. "Tell Mom the vote." Mara looked at the security tablet in the guard's hand. Executive elevator. A. Inactive. Empty. Locked. Since 8:14 p.m. Evan had supposedly left at 8:20. Mara lifted her eyes to Celia. Celia adjusted the edge of her folder. Gentle, professional, almost sad. And that was the first thing that truly frightened Mara. The first thing Mara did was not call the board back into order. She called the driver. Victor answered on the second ring, voice low and confused, with traffic noise behind him. "Where is my son?" Mara asked. "A pause. Ma'am, I was told not to pick him up tonight." Mara turned toward Celia. Behind the glass, directors waited with tablets and patient faces. Near the elevators, Noah stood between 2 guards, watching as if he had already learned not to hope too quickly. Celia did not step back. "There must be a scheduling miscommunication," she said. "Victor says he never took Evan home. Then Dr. Pell may have arranged alternate transport. At 8:20, you said Victor drove him. I said he was driven home. It was a small correction. Smooth. Almost reasonable. But Mara heard the hinge inside it, the place where truth had been adjusted to fit a locked door. Noah lifted his chin. "He's still down there." Gordon Hale appeared at the boardroom entrance. "Mara, I understand this is upsetting, but we need to avoid turning a security incident into a corporate emergency. My child may be trapped in an elevator. Our systems indicate otherwise. Then our systems are going to prove it." They went down in the public elevator because Executive Elevator A remained locked out of service. Celia came with them. So did Gordon, 2 guards, and a company attorney named Pierce, who kept whispering about liability exposure as if the words could keep the building innocent. Noah stood closest to the elevator doors when they reached the service corridor. The yellow tape across the private elevator looked cheap against the polished steel. Mara held Evan's chess knight in her palm. "Evan," she called. Nothing answered. The lack of response was worse with witnesses. One guard glanced at Noah. "Kid probably found that piece near the loading dock." Noah kept his eyes on the seam between the doors. "Don't talk loud," he said. The guard snorted. "What?" "He stops when people crowd the door." Celia folded her arms. "Or there is no one there." Noah crouched, one ear near the metal. He waited after I spoke too fast, like he was trying to hear if I was alone. Mara wanted to kneel beside him. Instead, she stayed standing, because half the building was watching, and some old training still believed dignity could hold disaster in place. "Evan," she said again softer, "it's Mom." For 6 seconds, only the ventilation system hummed. Then came one faint tap. Another followed. A pause. Then 2. Noah raised a hand, warning everyone not to interrupt. Dup, tup, dup, pause, dup, dup. Mara caught the elevator rail. Pierce checked the guard's tablet. Could be mechanical settling. Noah turned on him. "Machines don't answer names." Celia moved to the wall panel and pressed the service call button. "We need building engineering, not assumptions." An engineer arrived 7 minutes later with a badge clipped crookedly to his shirt and a tool case in one hand. His name was Lopez. He looked nervous enough to be honest. "Executive Elevator A has been in safety lock since 8:14, he said, reading from his tablet. "No load detected, no internal emergency trigger. Brake status normal. Door seal intact." "Open it," Mara said. Lopez swallowed. "I can't from here." "You can't, or you won't. The system has it sealed between floors 36 and 37. If there's a brake fault we don't see, forcing the doors could shift the cabin." Celia seized on that. So we do not make emotional decisions. Mara ignored her. Can someone be inside with no load detected? Lopez hesitated. Gordon said, careful. The engineer looked at Noah, then at the chess piece in Mara's hand. In theory, no. In reality, if the load sensor line was interrupted after the cabin registered empty, the panel could keep reporting the last safe state. Pierce exhaled sharply. That is speculation. It's engineering, Lopez said. Quieter now, but firmer. Check it, Mara ordered. Lopez removed the lower access plate beside the elevator. The screws came out one by one, each small metallic sound stretching the corridor tighter. Noah shifted closer. A guard put a hand against his chest. He stays, Mara said. He's not authorized, Celia replied. He heard my son. No, Mara. He claims he did. Noah's face changed. Not anger exactly. Something older. The look of a child who had been translated into a problem so many times that he almost expected it. Mara saw it, and she wondered how often Evan had worn the same expression across a dinner table from her. Lopez pulled the panel free. Inside, colored wires ran in neat bundles. A green diagnostic light blinked steadily. Nothing looked dramatic. No sparks. No torn metal. Then Lopez leaned closer. His mouth tightened. What is it? Mara asked. The auxiliary load sensor line is disconnected. Pierce stepped forward. Could that happen during maintenance? Not by accident. Lopez pointed with a screwdriver. The clip has been removed cleanly. Whoever did it knew where to reach. Celia smoothed one hand over her folder. Or someone tampered with it after the incident. Noah looked at the guards. You searched me. One guard shifted his weight. Mara asked, if that line is disconnected, could Evan be inside while the monitor says empty? Lopez nodded once. No one apologized to Noah. No one admitted he had been right. But they stopped looking through him, and that was its own small confession. A sharper knock came from behind the doors. 3 taps, then a scrape. Weak but deliberate. Noah crouched again. He's moving something. Mara knelt this time. Protocol be damned. Evan, honey, listen to me. We know you're there. We're getting you out. The answer came slowly. Tap, tap, tap. Then nothing. Celia lowered her voice. Mara, even if Evan is inside, we still do not know how this happened. We need control, not blame. No, Mara said. We need truth. Lopez reached deeper into the panel. There's something else. He pulled out a narrow strip of black insulating tape folded around the loose sensor clip. Stuck to the adhesive was a pale fiber, almost invisible. Noah leaned in before anyone stopped him. That's not from down here. Celia turned the folder slightly in her hands. And you know that, how? He pointed toward the hallway ceiling. Service corridors use gray dust. That's white carpet fiber. From upstairs. The guards exchanged a look. Mara did not ask how Noah noticed. She was beginning to understand that a boy who slept where people swept him away learned the difference between floors. Lopez sealed the tape in a plastic sleeve. Celia watched it disappear. For the first time, her calm seemed less like patience and more like calculation. Then the elevator speaker crackled. Static burst through the corridor. A child's breath trembled inside the wall. Mara leaned forward. Evan? The speaker hissed again. Then a voice, tiny and broken by metal, whispered one word. Mom. Before Mara could answer, the speaker cut dead. Lopez stared at the panel. Someone had just shut off the internal line from somewhere else in the building. The speaker did not come back. Lopez tried the line twice, then opened a secondary panel and checked the diagnostic feed with his thumb moving too quickly across the screen. Internal communication has been disabled, he said. By the elevator? Mara asked. No, from the building side. That answer traveled through the corridor more sharply than any alarm could have. A trapped child might press the wrong button. A failing elevator might lose signal. But someone outside the cabin had chosen the silence. Celia kept her eyes on the panel, not Mara. Then we isolate the fault and follow rescue protocol. Someone cut him off after he said my name. We do not know that. The timing may be coincidental. Noah made a sound under his breath. Celia turned to him. Something to add? He stared at the sealed doors. People always say that when the timing is the whole point. The guard nearest him shifted, but Mara raised one hand before anyone touched the boy. Lopez called for the emergency elevator team. The answer came back with procedure, estimated arrival, safety assessment, and warnings about forcing a cabin caught between floors. Every sentence was correct. None of it was fast enough. Mara stepped away and called the residents. The house manager answered. Evan was not in his room. His medication bag was still on his desk. His phone had been found in the kitchen charging drawer because Celia had said he needed a screen break after becoming overstimulated. Mara hung up slowly. She could feel the shape of the lie now. Not the full lie, just its edges. "Where is Evan's backpack?" she asked. Celia's expression barely changed. "Why?" "Because he never goes anywhere without it." After an episode, removing familiar objects can reduce fixation. Mara looked at her. "That is not what I asked." A guard was sent to the executive family lounge on the 49th floor, where Evan sometimes waited during late meetings. Celia tried to send someone from her own staff. Mara refused. She sent Lopez's assistant with a live video call open the entire time. The lounge appeared on Mara's phone. Grey sofa, chessboard table, untouched juice box, a blanket folded too neatly over a chair. Then the assistant found the backpack under the low cabinet. "Open the front pocket," Mara said. Celia stepped closer. "Mara, his private therapy materials may be inside. My son is trapped in an elevator. Privacy is not the shield you think it is." Inside the pocket was a small black notebook with a night sticker on the cover. Mara recognized it. Daniel had called it Evan's crooked logic book. When Evan was younger, he used it to write chess puzzles, odd facts, and questions adults answered too quickly. The assistant brought it down, sealed in a clear evidence pouch. Noah watched Mara hold it like it might bruise. "You should read the last page first," he said. Celia gave a thin smile. "And now he interprets notebooks." Noah did not look at her. When people hide things, they don't start at the beginning. Mara opened the notebook at the back. The last page was not a diary entry. It was a grid. At first it looked like a chessboard, 8 squares by 8, but the letters along one side were not A through H. They were floor numbers: 12, 21, 36, 37, 40, 49, 50, 2, and B2. Along the bottom were times: 8:02分, 8:07分, 8:14分, 8:20分, 8:31分. Mara's mouth went dry. Lopez leaned over the page. "Those are elevator timestamps." In Evan's narrow handwriting, several boxes were marked with small night symbols. 2 squares forward, 1 sideways, never straight. Noah tapped the page, careful not to touch the ink. That's what he was knocking. 2 and 1. Mara looked back at the elevator doors. Evan had not been tapping randomly. He had been giving them away to read what he had already built. The earlier pages showed weeks of notes, not long explanations, just fragments, the way Evan wrote when he was afraid someone might read over his shoulder. "CV took Mom's badge again," said board printer jammed. "Security replay jumps at 8-minute marks. Why does Executive A move when Mom is not here? Dr. Pell says I misread patterns, but patterns are the only things that don't lie." One line had been pressed so hard the pen nearly tore through the paper. "Temporary incapacity protocol. Ask Mom what that means." Mara had seen those words in legal documents after Daniel died. A clause meant to protect the company if she became unable to lead during a medical or family crisis. She remembered signing it because Celia had placed the document in front of her on a morning when Evan would not get out of bed, and the board was threatening a no-confidence vote. She had signed many things that year. "Too many," Celia spoke softly. "This is exactly what Dr. Pell warned about. Evan sees systems as hostile when he is under stress." Noah looked at her then. He wrote dates. Children can write dates. He wrote when the elevator moved. Lopez checked his tablet again. His face changed as he compared the notebook to the maintenance feed. "Some of these match," he said. "Not all, but enough." Celia's calm thinned. "Unofficial notes from a disturbed child do not override system records." Mara closed the notebook halfway. "Stop calling him that. I am using the language his physician used." "No," Mara said. "You are using it because it makes him smaller." The words surprised even her. For a second, she was no longer the CEO in a service corridor. She was a mother, remembering all the times Evan had started a sentence with, "Mom, listen," and she had answered with, "Not now." A knock came from the elevator. Weak. Then another. Noah turned toward it. "He heard you." Mara moved closer. "Evan, we found your notebook." No answer. Noah studied the grid again. "There's another message." He counted with his finger over the last row, but did not touch the page. 2 down, 1 across, then another, 2 to 1. The night symbols led from 36 to 21, then from 21 to B2, then back to 52. "It's not where he is," Noah said. "It's where the lie moved." Lopez frowned. "What does that mean?" Noah looked embarrassed for half a breath, as if he had forgotten adults did not like children sounding certain. It means he followed the person who used the elevator. Mara looked at the marked floors, 36 and 37, where the cabin was trapped. 21, a technical level. B2, the service corridor where Noah had heard the first knock. 52, the boardroom. The route was not an accident. It was a path. Celia reached for her phone. We need to secure that notebook properly. Mara took it out of reach. We will, with legal present. With independent legal present. That landed. Gordon Hale, who had followed them down and said little since the sensor was found, cleared his throat. Mara, if this is becoming an internal security inquiry, the board should be briefed in a controlled manner. The board can wait. The vote cannot wait indefinitely. Noah looked from Gordon to Celia. That's why he wrote it, he said. Mara turned to him. The elevator is scary, Noah said. But he didn't use his last message to say elevator. He said vote. No one spoke for a moment. Not silence. Calculation. Celia's eyes went to the notebook, then to the access panel, then to the directors watching through the security feed Gordon had foolishly left open on his tablet. Mara saw it. The tiny adjustment of a person changing plans. Lopez's radio crackled. The rescue team had reached the mechanical room above the trapped cabin. They could begin stabilizing the brake, but someone had manually engaged an executive override from a remote terminal. Where? Mara asked. Lopez checked the code. His answer was almost a whisper. Floor 21. Floor 21 was not on the public elevator directory. The button did not light when Mara pressed it. The panel skipped from 20 to 22, as if the building had swallowed one floor and expected everyone polite enough not to ask. Lopez checked his tablet. Technical operations. Badge. Restricted. Server relays. Elevator control backups. Environmental systems. Then badge us in, Mara said. I don't have clearance for that level. Mara looked at him. Lopez gave a helpless shake of his head. I repair the elevators people are allowed to admit exist. Celia, who had followed them from the service corridor with Gordon and Pierce behind her, spoke before Mara could. There are secure systems on that floor. We cannot parade an unauthorized child through infrastructure that supports federal contracts. Noah stood beside Mara with his hands in the sleeves of his wet jacket. His eyes kept moving. Ceiling corners, badge readers, service doors, the mirrored trim beside the elevator panel. Mara pressed her own executive card to the reader. Denied. The small red light blinked once. That's new, she said. Celia's brow tightened with concern so perfect it almost looked printed. If there has been a security breach, the system may have restricted access automatically, or someone restricted mine. Mara. It was the first time Celia used her name like a warning instead of comfort. Lopez led them to a stairwell instead. The door to 21 had a second reader and a mechanical lock. He could open it only by triggering an alarm that would freeze the elevator rescue protocols for a full diagnostic review. Freeze them for how long? Mara asked. 20 minutes. Maybe 30. Evan did not have 20 minutes to spend on caution. Noah stepped back from the door and looked at the wall opposite it. Why is that vent cleaner than the others? Above a row of conduit pipes, a rectangular intake grill sat slightly crooked. Its screws had bright edges, recently turned. The floor beneath it had no dust. Lopez examined it. Cable access chase. Too narrow for an adult. No, Celia said immediately. Mara kept her eyes on the grill. Noah, do you think you can see through it? I can try. You will not send a child into a wall, Celia said. That is reckless. Noah gave a short, humorless smile. People are usually fine sending kids into places. They just don't like watching. Mara turned to him. You do not have to do this. He looked at the red reader light, then at Evan's notebook in her hand. If he used a night move to point here, he thought somebody small might understand. Lopez removed the grill. Noah slid only his shoulders and head into the cable chase, while Lopez held the back of his jacket and Mara kept one hand near his ankle. Inside, the air smelled of warm plastic. Noah whispered back what he saw. There's another room past the panel. Lights on. 2 people. Mara lowered her voice. Can you hear them? A little. For several seconds, only the building's mechanical pulse came through the wall. Then Noah's face changed. He whispered, not repeating everything, only pieces. Once she signs, the board won't reverse it. A pause. The boy was never supposed to keep notes. Another voice. Lower. What about the notebook? Lopez's jaw tightened. The lower voice sounded like Harrow, the building security chief, but through a wall no one could swear to it. Then the first voice again. Make it look like part of the episode. Celia stepped forward. This is absurd. A frightened child in a vent is not a witness. Noah pulled back enough to look at her. I didn't say whose voices. Celia stopped. It lasted less than a second, but Mara saw it. Lopez helped Noah out. His cheek was dusty now. He held something pinched between two fingers. A broken plastic badge clip, dark blue, cracked at the hinge. It was inside, Noah said. Near the panel, Pierce reached for it with a handkerchief. Do not contaminate potential evidence. Mara photographed it first, then made Pierce bag it. Lopez worked around the door without opening it, attaching a diagnostic lead to the external maintenance port. His tablet flashed streams of codes. Remote terminal is active, he said. Someone used 21 to engage the executive override on elevator A. Can you identify the account? Partial. It's masked under a maintenance session. Technician ID, no name. Just an internal contractor code. Celia recovered quickly. Then we are likely dealing with contractor negligence. Noah looked toward the vent. Contractors don't talk about board votes. Pierce made a note, as if Noah's sentence were a mess to be cleaned later. Lopez's tablet pinged. There's a service label in the log. Maintenance window filed for yesterday. Corrected to tonight at 8:05. Mara remembered the crossed-out date on the warning sign from Noah's first description. Who corrected it? Lopez frowned. That's the problem. The correction doesn't show a user. It shows an administrative relay. Meaning? The system accepted the change, but the person who made it is hidden behind a higher permission layer. Mara turned to Celia. Who has that layer? Several senior operations roles, Celia said. Including you. And you? For continuity, yes. The word landed exactly where Evan had written it. Continuity. Mara looked down at the notebook. Temporary incapacity protocol. Ask Mom what that means. Daniel's last year returned in fragments. Hospital corridors, lawyers, Evan refusing school, Celia placing documents in careful stacks saying, We just need safeguards, Mara. You cannot carry the company and a crisis alone. A safeguard could become a cage if the wrong person held the key. Lopez kept digging through the live feed. I can't clear the override from here. It's tied to a command chain. Break it, Mara said. If I force it without knowing the chain, I may trip a full elevator lockdown. Celia touched the bracelet at her wrist. Listen to him. Every emotional shortcut risks Evan. Mara hated that the sentence was true enough to be useful. Noah moved to the warning sign taped near the stairwell door. This label was changed too. He pointed at the corner. The printed date had been covered by a clean white sticker, then written over in marker. When he lifted the edge with his fingernail, another date showed beneath it. Yesterday, Lopez photographed it. Same maintenance window. Gordon's face had lost its boardroom polish. Why would someone create a maintenance record a day early, then change it? To make the wrong night look planned, Mara said. Or to correct a clerical error, Celia replied. Noah bent to the floor and picked up a loose thread snagged on the metal threshold below the locked door. White carpet fiber, the same kind from the sensor tape. Mara held up the sealed sleeve from earlier. The match was not legal proof. Not yet. But it was a bridge between the elevator panel and floor 21. Pierce looked uncomfortable now. We need a controlled evidence process. We needed one an hour ago, Mara said. Her phone buzzed with another board message. Vote delayed beyond tolerance. Executive continuity motion may proceed without CEO consent if incapacity standard is met. Mara read it twice. Then she looked at Celia. Celia lowered her phone, arranging concern, regret, and professional restraint into place. All the expressions that had once made Mara feel protected, now they felt arranged. Lopez's tablet chimed again. He turned the screen toward Mara. A signature authorization had appeared in the override chain. Not a password, not a stolen badge. Her digital approval, timestamp, 8:16 p.m. Mara shook her head. I was upstairs then. Pierce checked his notes. At 8:16, you were in pre-board review. With Celia, Gordon added. Celia tapped the corner of her folder against her palm. Digital records can be misread under stress. Lopez enlarged the location metadata. Authorized device. CEO secure tablet. Location ping. Floor 40. Mara's secure tablet had never been on floor 40 that night. Noah looked at the screen, then at the block door to 21. So the system says you locked him in, he said quietly. Mara felt the trap close around her name. From Lopez's radio came a burst of urgency. The rescue team had stabilized the cabin, but the brake release command remained blocked. Then another message followed. Someone on floor 21 had just wiped the active terminal session. The terminal wipe did not erase the danger. It erased the cleanest path to proving who had created it. Lopez stared at his tablet as if the missing session might return if he refused to blink. The active user is gone. Cache is clearing. Stop it, Mara said. I'm trying. Pierce, the company attorney, had already stepped away to make a call. Gordon Hale watched him with the expression of a man turning fear into procedure. Celia did not look relieved. That unsettled Mara more than relief would have. Call Amara Singh, Mara said. Lopez glanced up. From Sterling Forensics? She audited our airport breach 3 years ago. Celia's eyes narrowed by a fraction. Amara no longer works under our internal confidentiality umbrella. That is why I want her. Pierce ended his call. An outside investigator without board authorization could expose proprietary infrastructure. My son is inside proprietary infrastructure. And if you claim Langford's elevator controls were manipulated before confirming facts, you may endanger federal contracts, share price, and acquisition negotiations. Noah stood near the stairwell door, still damp, still not sitting though someone had offered a chair. He talks like the building is the one breathing. Pierce looked at him. This child should not be present. This child heard Evan when none of you did, Mara said. Celia set her folder against her chest. No one is blaming him, but we have to protect him from being used by this situation. Noah's mouth tightened. Mara heard the trick in that. Protect him could mean remove him. Help him could mean silence him. Noah stays where I can see him, Mara said. Amara Singh arrived in 19 minutes. She listened for 4 minutes. No interruptions, no sympathy. Then she asked for the raw audit trail. Pierce objected. Mara overrode him. Gordon objected more carefully. Mara overrode him too. Celia said nothing. Amara plugged a sealed drive into Lopez's terminal and began copying logs. Elevator control, badge access, camera feed, secure tablet authentication, maintenance edits, speaker line commands. First pass, Amara said. Your system believes the override was approved by the CEO's secure tablet at 8:16 p.m. The authentication chain is valid. No brute force attempt, no outside intrusion. Pierce seized on that. So the system record is legitimate? No, Amara said. I said it is valid. That is not the same as truthful. Mara looked at the timestamp. At 8:16, she had been in a pre-board review on 52. Celia had sat to her left. Gordon had presented the continuity motion. Her tablet had been on the table in front of her, or so she remembered. Memory suddenly felt like a weak witness. Location ping says floor 40, Lopez said. Amara nodded. Either the tablet was on 40, the location tag was spoofed, or the system was instructed to believe an approved device was there. Can you prove which? Mara asked. Not yet. The rescue team radioed from above the shaft. Evan's cabin had been stabilized, but they still needed the brake release command cleared or a mechanical bypass completed from the upper machine room. A wrong release could drop the cabin a few feet, enough to injure a child already weak. Mara forced herself not to ask how long again. She asked what she could do. Find who issued the command, Amara said, and find what they changed after. Noah stepped forward. The cameras, every adult turned. He pointed toward the service corridor map. When they dragged me away the first time, the monitor by the guard desk showed the hallway empty, but I was in the hallway. Pierce sighed. A frightened child's impression, not impression, Noah said. The vending machine glass showed me behind them. The camera screen didn't. Amara looked at him. Reflection angle? Noah nodded. Blue machine. Near the loading bay. The one with water bottles no one buys because they cost $6. Lopez pulled up the corridor feed. At 8:10, the hallway showed empty. At 8:11, empty. At 8:12, empty. Noah leaned closer. That's wrong. How can you tell? Gordon asked. The mop bucket. On the video, a yellow mop bucket sat beside the left wall. Noah pointed to the wheels. Same position every minute, but the janitor was moving it when I came in. He almost hit my foot. Amara scrubbed the footage forward. The hallway repeated. 9 minutes of perfect emptiness. Not frozen. Replaced. The loop was smooth enough that no guard watching casually would notice. The bucket, light flicker, elevator notice, and far door shadow repeated with patient precision. Celia finally spoke. A contractor with access to maintenance feeds could create that. Amara opened a second layer of data. This was not made with ordinary video editing. The loop passed Langford's internal anomaly filter. Lopez looked sick. That filter is experimental. It's supposed to detect feed substitution. It did, Amara said. Then someone used its own correction model to build a cleaner false segment. Mara understood enough to feel the floor shift beneath the facts. The lie had not broken through Langford's system. It had worn Langford's system like a uniform. Noah pointed again, this time at the edge of the vending machine reflection captured in a separate low-resolution service feed. There. Amara enlarged the frame. The image blurred into blocks, then sharpened just enough. A shape crossed the polished side of the vending machine. Red coat, dark hair, slender build, no face. Gordon turned toward Mara. Who on executive staff wore red tonight? Mara already knew. Elise Warren, her junior assistant, had come upstairs at 8:05 with revised signature tabs. Red coat, dark hair, nervous hands. 26 years old, knew enough to still apologize before entering a room. Celia pressed her thumb along the edge of her phone. Elise has access to your schedule and conference materials, Pierce added. And potentially your tablet. Noah watched their faces. That's too easy. Pierce ignored him. We need to locate Elise immediately. Gordon was already sending a message. Mara remembered Elise setting down the folder, remembered Celia asking her to fetch the printed addendum from 40, remembered barely noticing because Gordon had been pressing her about midnight deadlines. 40. Mara turned to Celia. Why did Elise go to floor 40? Celia let a puzzled pause settle, or performed one well. I do not recall sending her there. Gordon checked his phone. Security says Elise is in the East copy room on 49. Bring her, Pierce said. 2 guards left. Noah moved closer to Mara, speaking low. If they can make cameras lie, they can make a scared assistant look guilty. Mara looked at him. Why do you think she's scared? Because people who do bad things walk faster after. People who get told to do something wrong walk like they're waiting to be called back. It was not evidence. It was not admissible. It was not corporate procedure. But it sounded like the kind of truth Mara had spent years outsourcing. Amara continued searching the loop metadata. There's a signature embedded in the correction model. A user? Mara asked. No. A tool mark. Internal build number. Lopez leaned over. That build was never released outside the executive security lab. Celia's hand went to her phone. Mara noticed. Do not send that message, Mara said. Celia's thumb stopped above the screen. Excuse me? Put the phone on the table. Pierce started to object. Mara did not raise her voice. Every person with continuity clearance puts their phone on the table now. Gordon stared at her. Mara, that includes board officers. Good. Phones came out one by one. Celia's was last. Before it touched the table, a new alert appeared on Lopez's tablet. Elise Warren's badge had just accessed the executive security lab, floor 40. At the same time, the guards reported Elise was standing in front of them on 49, crying. Elise Warren arrived between 2 guards with red eyes, a shaking mouth, and no coat. That was the first thing Noah noticed. In the vending machine reflection, the figure had worn red. Elise's red coat was not on her shoulders now. It was folded over one arm of the guard behind her, sealed in a clear plastic garment bag as if fabric could confess. I didn't go to the lab, Elise said before anyone asked. I swear I didn't. Pierce stepped in front of Mara, already arranging the facts into a shape the company could survive. Elise, your badge accessed the executive security lab at 9:27 p.m. I was in the copy room. The guards found you there after the alert, because Miss Voss asked me to wait for the board packet. Celia's expression softened. Elise, be careful. You were asked to prepare documents, not to speculate. Elise looked at her, then down at the floor. Mara saw the fear in that movement. Not guilt, training. Who sent you to floor 40 earlier? Mara asked. Elise swallowed. I don't know. You don't know? I mean, I got a message. It looked like it came from your account. It said the revised addendum was printing on 40. I went there, but the printer was empty. Then Miss Voss told me the board was moving quickly and I should stay near copy support. Celia shook her head with quiet disappointment. I never told her to stay anywhere. We have message logs. Amara lifted her eyes from the terminal. Message logs can be edited. Pierce gave her a cold look. Everything can be edited, according to you. Not everything, Amara said. Just enough to ruin the truth if nobody checks carefully. Lopez's radio crackled from the rescue team above the shaft. Brake pressure stable. Manual bypass prepared. Awaiting executive release clearance. Mara turned. Can they open it? Lopez listened to the next transmission, then nodded. They can begin access through the upper hatch if the release clearance goes through. It will be slow, but safe. For the first time in nearly an hour, hope reached Mara before fear could stop it. "Do it," she said. Lopez entered the command request. The tablet asked for executive confirmation. Mara placed her thumb on the reader. Processing. The green bar moved halfway across the screen, then stopped. A red warning filled the display. CEO authority under review. Continuity, motion pending. Gordon Hale closed his eyes for half a breath. Mara turned to him. "What did you do?" "I did not trigger that," Gordon said, but his voice lacked certainty. Pierce answered instead. "The board is obligated to preserve operational stability when the CEO becomes the subject of a security event. My son is trapped, and the system record currently includes your authorization in the chain that trapped him." Noah looked from Pierce to Mara. "They're using the fake thing like it's real." Pierce pointed at him without looking. "And this miner has become part of every compromised step." Mara's voice dropped. "Choose your next words carefully." Pierce did not back away. He found the chess piece. He entered the cable chase. He retrieved a badge fragment. He identified footage none of our guards noticed. He had opportunity to touch evidence before chain of custody existed. "I didn't put anything there," Noah said. "No one said you did," Celia replied. The kindness in her tone made the accusation worse. She turned to Mara. "But Pierce is right about exposure. Noah may have been used by someone else, or he may be repeating what he was told. Either way, if this goes wrong, he will be the first person police question." Noah's hands disappeared into his sleeves. Mara saw it again. Help as a leash. Elise lifted her head. "He didn't do this." Pierce turned on her. "You are not in a position to defend anyone." "Neither are you," Elise said, but the courage cost her. Her voice cracked on the last word. Amara was still working. "Elise's badge access is suspicious, but not conclusive. The lab reader accepted her credentials. That does not prove her physical card was present." "Clone?" Lopez asked. "Possible. Or cached credential replay." Pierce's patience thinned. "So now every record that implicates anyone except your preferred suspect is fake." "No," Amara said. "I am saying whoever did this understands which records people like you trust first." Mara looked at Celia. Celia met her gaze with wounded steadiness. "Mara, I know you are afraid, but you are turning everyone around you into an enemy." That sentence struck closer than Mara wanted, because once, after Daniel died, she had done exactly that. She had shouted at doctors, fired a driver for being late, accused a teacher of ignoring Evan, then apologized through Celia because she could not face the damage directly. Celia knew every weak place, because Mara had handed her the map. Lopez's tablet pinged again. "Continuity motion has moved to emergency vote," he said. Gordon checked his phone. "The board can appoint temporary operational authority for the next 6 hours." "Who receives it?" Mara asked. No one answered quickly enough. Celia did, gently. "Under the current documents, continuity management flows through my office until the board appoints a special committee." Noah's eyes moved to Mara. The elevator, the vote, the signature before midnight, all of it tightened into one line. Mara said, "You want me to step aside while Evan is still inside. I want you to let qualified people act without fear of your grief overriding safety." Pierce placed a tablet on the side table. "If you sign a voluntary, temporary delegation, the clearance hold can be removed. Rescue proceeds. Investigation continues under board supervision." "Under Celia's supervision," Mara said. "Under corporate authority." Noah stepped forward. One guard moved with him, but he stopped before touching the boy. "Don't," Noah said. Pierce exhaled. "Child, this is not." He said, "Don't." Everyone looked toward the elevator feed on Lopez's tablet. The rescue team had lowered a small microphone through the upper shaft. It picked up a faint tapping from inside the cabin. Tap, tap, pause, tap. Noah listened. Then his face changed. "No," he whispered. "That's not the same." Mara knelt beside the tablet, as if being closer to the sound could make her closer to Evan. "What is he saying?" Noah took Evan's notebook from the table and opened to the grid. His finger hovered over the night marks. 2, 1, 2, 1, then back. He counted again. His lips moved around a phrase he did not want to say wrong. "It's a chess thing," he said. "Sacrifice the queen." Gordon frowned. "What does that mean?" Mara knew. Daniel had taught Evan that sometimes a queen sacrifice looked like losing, but it only worked if the player saw the trap on the next move. Celia reached for the delegation tablet. Mara, please. You can analyze metaphors after your son is safe. But Evan was not sending a metaphor. He was warning her about the move in front of her. Mara looked at the tablet waiting for her signature. If she signed, rescue clearance might move faster. If she signed, Celia would control the investigation, the evidence, the boardroom, and the story. The tapping came again, weaker this time. Sacrifice the Queen, not surrender the board. Mara stood. No, she said. Pierce stiffened. You are refusing the quickest path to release clearance. I am refusing to hand the knife to the person asking me to close my eyes. Celia's bracelet clicked once against the table. Not guilt. Anger. Then it was gone. The brake alarm sounded above them. Lopez grabbed his radio. What happened? A voice from the rescue team answered through static. Manual bypass delayed. Secondary lock engaged from remote authority. Amara looked at the access feed. The command had not come from Elise's badge. It had come from the continuity management account. The secondary lock changed everything. Before it, the crisis had still looked like a rescue slowed by evidence. After it, every adult in the corridor understood something colder. Whoever held continuity access could reach Evan faster than the rescue team could. Lopez's radio filled with voices from above the shaft. Brake remained stable. Hatch access delayed. Awaiting clearance reset. Mara looked at Pierce. Remove the hold. Pierce did not touch his tablet. The hold is not mine to remove. It came from continuity management. Yes. Then Celia can remove it. Celia stood very still now, pale but not frightened in the way Elise was frightened. Elise looked like a person trapped inside a mistake. Celia looked like a person watching a structure hold. I do not have unilateral authority during an emergency motion, Celia said. The board process has already begun. You had enough authority to block my son's rescue. That is not what the record shows. Mara stepped closer. Records have been lying all night. And that statement, Pierce said, is exactly why the board is concerned. His words were polished, but his hand trembled as he sent another message. Noah saw it. You're scared too. Pierce looked down at him. I am responsible. No. You're scared you picked the wrong safe side. A guard moved in. That's enough. Pierce had requested emergency child services the moment Noah entered a restricted technical zone. At the same time, a woman in a navy coat came through the stairwell with 2 building officers. She carried a tablet and a visitor badge that read, Child Welfare Liaison. Mara turned sharply. Who called her? Pierce answered too quickly. Standard protocol. An unaccompanied minor was found trespassing in a restricted corporate facility during an active emergency. Noah backed up once. Only once. But Mara saw the whole history in that small step. Shelter offices, back rooms, adults with forms, doors closing, because a child had no one whose name mattered. The liaison softened her voice. Noah, we're not here to punish you. Then why did you bring guards? He asked. No one liked that question. Celia folded her hands. This may be best. The boy has been through enough. Mara looked at her. You do not get to call him a witness when he helps you, then a child when you want him gone. I am trying to protect him. From what? Celia did not answer. Amara did. From what he noticed. She had been working through the continuity logs with a focus so complete it seemed almost rude. Now she turned her screen toward Mara. The secondary lock was issued by continuity management, Amara said, but not by a general automated trigger. It used a human confirmation step. Whose? Mara asked. Masked under a continuity office token. Pierce seized on the word. Masked does not mean criminal. No, Amara said. It means designed to survive an accusation. Gordon Hale rubbed his forehead. Can you clear it? I can route around it, but I need a second executive credential not already under review. Everyone looked at Gordon. He looked back at Mara. Mine won't work, he said. The emergency motion placed board credentials in observation mode until the chair certification is complete. Convenient, Noah muttered. Pierce snapped. Enough. This child is interfering with rescue operations. No, Mara said. He is interfering with your story. The child welfare liaison stepped closer. Miss Langford, regardless of your view, Noah cannot remain in a restricted technical emergency zone. Mara felt the trap divide into 2 rooms, one where Evan waited in the elevator, and one where Noah could be removed quietly, kindly, correctly, and permanently. She took out her phone. Who are you calling? Pierce asked. An attorney who does not work for my company. Celia's eyes narrowed. For yourself? For Noah. That landed harder than Mara expected. Noah looked at her as if kindness were another hallway he might be pushed through. You don't have to, he said. I know. No, I mean it. People do stuff like that and then you owe them. Mara knelt, so she did not tower over him. You do not owe me anything for being believed. For a moment, the corridor became too full of things no one knew how to say. Then Lopez's radio cut through it, cabin temperature dropping. Passenger responsive but weak. Mara stood. Amara, find me a credential. Amara had already shifted to another log set. There may be one. She pulled up a list of executive hardware issued after Daniel Langford's death. Secure tablets, authentication cards, board tokens, and 3 black executive access rings used for sealed floor entry when devices failed. Mara remembered them. Daniel had hated the rings. He said they made executives look like kings pretending to be engineers. Who has them now? She asked. 1 assigned to you, 1 assigned to continuity management, 1 assigned to board chair emergency custody. Gordon lifted his hand slowly. Mine is in my office safe. Check the access history, Mara said. Amara did. The board chair ring had not been used tonight. Mara's ring was upstairs in her locked desk, untouched since the quarterly audit. The continuity ring had opened floor 40 at 8:16, floor 21 at 8:24, and the executive security lab at 9:27. Elise began to cry again. I never had a ring. Noah looked at Celia's hands. Celia wore no ring, only a thin watch and a bracelet Mara had given her last Christmas. Noah's eyes narrowed. What? Mara asked. She didn't wear it, he said. She carried it. Celia gave a quiet, tired exhale. This is becoming theatrical. Noah shook his head. In the reflection, the red coat person kept one hand closed, not like holding a phone, like hiding something hard. Amara pulled up the vending machine reflection again. The image was poor, half light and half smear, but in one frame, the figure's right hand curled around a small dark circle, not proof, a shape, enough to make the hallway tilt toward the truth. Pierce looked at the liaison. Remove the minor. Mara stepped between them. No. Miss Langford, the liaison said. I have authority, and I have legal counsel on the line for him, authorization as property owner for his presence, and a material witness designation in an active child endangerment event. Pierce's face hardened. That designation is not formally recognized. Then formally recognize this, Mara said. If anyone removes Noah Reed before my son is out, I will make every access log, every delayed rescue command, and every message about this emergency public before midnight. Gordon stared at her. You would damage the company. Mara looked toward the sealed shaft feed, where Evan's weak breathing crackled through the rescue mic. No, she said. I would stop worshipping it. Amara's laptop chimed. She had found a path. Daniel's old emergency credential is still archived in cold storage, she said. It cannot release the lock, but it can force the system to preserve all continuity commands and mirror them to an external evidence vault. Do it, Mara said. Pierce nearly shouted. That could expose privileged board material. Good. Amara triggered the archive mirror. Across the screen, deleted continuity commands began rebuilding line by line. Most were still masked. One was not. At 8:18 p.m., 2 minutes after Mara's false approval, the continuity ring had been used to authorize a private maintenance elevator route. Destination sequence: 40, 21, B2, 50, 2. Evan's notebook path, Noah whispered. He was right. Then the final line restored. User note attached to route. Prepare incapacity packet before mother arrives. Mara looked at Celia. Celia did not speak. She only looked at the boardroom floor indicator blinking above the elevator bank. 52. The people upstairs were already voting. Mara did not run to the boardroom. Running would have let them call it panic. She walked out of the service level with Noah beside her, Amara carrying the restored logs, and Lopez holding the rescue feed. The guards followed at a distance after Mara told them they could either protect evidence or become part of the next report. The elevator to 52 rose too slowly. Noah watched the floor numbers. Mara watched her own reflection in the doors and understood, too late, that control had never meant silence. Sometimes fear was the first honest witness. The doors opened onto glass, dark suits, and tablets glowing around conference room 52A. The board was already voting. Pierce stood near a screen titled Emergency Continuity Certification. Celia sat close to Mara's chair, not quite taking it, only waiting beside it. Mara, Celia said gently, this is not the setting for an emotional confrontation. No, Mara said. It is the setting for the vote my son warned me about. Pierce stepped forward. The emergency motion concerns operational stability. My child is trapped because someone used company authority to block rescue access. That is an allegation. It is a sequence. Mara nodded to Amara. The screen changed. First came the elevator status. Inactive, empty, locked. Then the disconnected load sensor. Then the maintenance label changed from yesterday to tonight. Then Evans' notebook grid, marked in night moves. Then the restored continuity route. 40, 20, 1, B, 2, 50, 2. Several directors leaned forward. Celia folded her hands. A child's notebook is not a control map. No, Mara said. It is the first record in this building that told the truth. Amara added the camera loop. 9 minutes of polished emptiness repeating in the service corridor, the mop bucket holding its place like a prop. Lopez spoke next. The loop passed the anomaly filter because it was generated through an internal correction model. That build belongs to the Executive Security Lab. Pierce turned on him. You are an elevator engineer. That is why Amara is here, Lopez said. Amara brought up the next pane. The continuity ring opened floor 40 at 8:16, floor 21 at 8:24, and the Executive Security Lab at 9:27. Elise Warren's badge access appears to be credential replay, not physical presence. Elise stood near the door, pale and shaking, but no longer looking at the floor. Gordon stared at the route. Who holds the continuity ring? Celia answered evenly. Continuity management holds it in secured custody, accessible to authorized officers in emergency conditions. Accessible to whom? Mara asked. To my office. Not a confession, but enough to make the room hear the difference between innocence and language built to survive guilt. Pierce lifted his chin. Even if the ring was used, that does not prove Miss Voss personally used it. It does not prove intent. From Lopez's radio came a sharp burst. Upper hatch open. We have visual on passenger. Mara's breath caught, but she stayed facing the board. Status? Lopez asked. Responsive. Weak. Dehydrated. Minor head abrasion. Preparing extraction. Noah closed his eyes for 1 second, then opened them quickly, as if relief was something he could not afford to hold. Celia rose. Then the priority is medical care. Everything else can wait. Mara looked at her. That is what you counted on. Celia's fingers closed around the edge of the table. You are confusing adverse events with intention. There it is, Noah said quietly. Several directors looked at him. He forced himself not to step back. That's how people do it. They make a bad thing sound like weather. Pierce snapped. This boy has no standing in this room. Mara turned to the board. His standing is that he heard my son when this company's systems said there was no one to hear. The rescue radio crackled again. Passenger has an object taped inside his sleeve. He refuses to release it except to his mother. Mara moved closer to the monitor. Evan appeared in grainy light, pale under a rescue blanket, one arm held against his chest. A medic spoke gently. Evan shook his head until Mara stepped into view. I'm here, she said. His fingers loosened. The medic removed a strip of cloth from inside his sleeve. Beneath it was a cracked recorder, no bigger than a key fob. Amara received the audio. Most of it was static, footsteps, a metallic thump. Then Celia's voice, distant but clear. The boy was never supposed to keep notes. Another voice, lower. Harrow from security. What about the vote? Celia again. Once she signs, concern becomes authority. Static swallowed the rest. Pierce immediately said, That is incomplete. Amara nodded. Yes, which is why it does not stand alone. She pointed back to the screen. Sensor, label, loop, ring route, credential replay, notebook, remote lock, recorder. It stands with everything else. Celia adjusted her sleeve. This is an unfortunate interpretation of a complex crisis. Mara's grief has made her vulnerable to hostile narratives, and this company cannot be governed by a child's fear, a trespasser's guesses, and damaged audio. Then Evan's voice came through the rescue feed, faint but awake. Noah heard me? Noah stepped toward the monitor. Yeah. Evan's eyes found Mara again. I tried to tell you, he whispered. I know, Mara said, but Evan shook his head. No, you don't. Every time I tried, someone explained me away. That broke the last excuse Mara had kept for herself. She turned back to the board. The emergency continuity vote is suspended. Celia Voss is removed from all access pending independent investigation. Pierce, preserve every device, message, credential, and board communication from tonight. Pierce hesitated. Gordon looked from the route to Evan's image on the monitor. Do it. Security moved towards Celia, not touching her yet, waiting for formal instruction. This was not justice. Not fully. It was the first locked door opening. On the monitor, Evan was lifted carefully through the upper hatch. Noah watched him breathe. Mara watched her son's hand close around the damaged recorder. And for the first time that night, the system was no longer the loudest voice in the building. The emergency hearing began 40 minutes after Evan reached medical care. Not in the boardroom. Mara refused that. It took place in the compliance chamber 2 floors below, where every statement was recorded, every device was logged, and every person at the table had to say their role out loud before speaking. Celia Voss sat across from the independent counsel with her access badge sealed in a plastic evidence bag. For years, she had used rooms like this as weapons: risk review, continuity procedure, child safety language, board confidence. Tonight, those same words sat on the table in front of her, stripped of softness. No one called Noah the trespasser. The independent counsel asked his name. Noah Reed, he said. And your role tonight? Noah glanced at Mara, then at the recorder on the table. I heard Evan Langford when the system said nobody was there. The counsel nodded. The record will identify Noah Reed as the first reporting witness. Noah looked down quickly, as if recognition felt heavier than blame. Elise Warren was cleared from immediate suspicion after Amara confirmed credential replay on her badge. Lopez's report confirmed manual sensor interference. Amara's preserved archive tied the continuity ring to the route Evan had marked before anyone believed him. Then the counsel turned to Mara. Miss Langford, do you have a statement before temporary restrictions are issued? Mara stood. She did not look at the directors first. She looked at Evan through the medical room video feed. He was awake, pale, wrapped in blankets, one hand resting near the cracked recorder. My son tried to warn me, she said. He used notes, patterns, and the only object he could push under a locked door. I allowed other adults to explain his fear into a diagnosis because that was easier than admitting I had stopped listening. Her voice held, and Noah Reed told the truth before anyone here wanted the inconvenience of it. Celia's attorney objected to characterization. The counsel sustained part of it, but not all. Celia was suspended from all corporate access. Harrow from security was placed under investigation. Every continuity action from the past year was frozen for external review. No applause followed. That was good. Justice did not need applause to become real. Evan did not leave the hospital the next morning, or the morning after that. The doctors called it precaution. Evan had bruised ribs, a cut near his hairline, and a voice that stayed rough for days. But the harder injuries were quieter. He flinched when the room door closed too quickly. He asked whether the nurse call button worked. When an orderly suggested the elevator for a scan, Evan turned toward the window and said nothing. Mara did not tell him he was safe now. Safety was not a sentence adults could hand to a child after failing to provide it. So she asked for stairs when possible. When they were not, she waited beside him until he could look at the elevator doors. Sometimes he could not. That had to count too. Noah stayed in a temporary youth residence arranged through an independent attorney. Mara offered help in writing, with choices attached and no hidden debt inside the words. The first time she visited, Noah kept his backpack on. The second time, he sat with his back to the wall. The third time, he asked if the lawyer was really his or just hers wearing a different suit. Yours, Mara said. He studied her. People say that. Yes, Mara said. They do. She did not ask him to trust her. She sent documents. She let him read them. She paid for counsel through an independent fund, administered by the court, not her office. She gave Noah the one thing rich people rarely thought to give before money: distance from their control. Langford Industries changed more slowly than Mara wanted, which meant it was changing for real. Amara Singh led an audit the board could not quietly narrow. Executives resigned before questioning. Harrow from security was arrested for evidence tampering. Celia Voss's case moved through channels that refused to become dramatic just because Mara wanted answers faster. That taught her something. Justice with weight did not always look like a door slamming. Sometimes it looked like every door being logged, so no one could later pretend it had never opened. Elise Warren returned after Mara offered her a transfer outside the executive floor. Elise declined. Her hands still shook, but one afternoon she said, "I don't want the last thing they used me for to be the reason I leave." Mara let that stand. Evan came home on a Thursday. Not to the penthouse at first. He asked for the old family apartment Daniel had kept near the river, the one with low ceilings, scratched floors, and no private elevator. Mara almost said it was impractical. Then she heard herself choosing convenience over comfort and stopped. They moved there for a while. On the first night, Evan placed his cracked recorder in a drawer, then took it back out and set it on the desk. Hidden things had hurt him. Visible things felt safer. Noah visited a week later. He came with his lawyer and left his backpack by the door only after checking twice that no one moved it. Evan showed him Daniel's chessboard. The Silver Knight sat in the center, cleaned but not repaired. Mara had offered to have the bentia smoothed and the scratches polished out. Evan said no. "That's how I know it's mine," he told her. Noah looked at the piece. "That scratch is where you pushed it under the door." Evan nodded. "Then don't fix it," Noah said. "That's the part that got out." For a while, neither boy moved a piece. Then Evan picked up the knight and set it in Noah's hand. "You heard it," Evan said. Noah looked uncomfortable, almost angry at being thanked for something that should not have been rare. "People hear stuff," he said. "No," Evan answered. "They hear what they expect." Mara stood in the kitchen doorway, not interrupting. She was learning that listening was not waiting for her turn to fix something. Weeks later, the private elevator at Langford Tower reopened after a full safety rebuild. Mara stood before it with Evan on one side and Noah on the other. No ceremony, no cameras, no statement. The doors opened. Evan did not step in, neither did Noah. Mara did not tell either of them they had to. Noah touched the edge of the door with 2 fingers. "It's okay if it takes time." Evan looked at his mother. Mara nodded. This time, she heard him before he had to knock.